Welcome to this week's episode. We are coming up on the end of the year again. How did that happen?
I have no idea. Time just seems to fly when you're having a good time.
That is true, and we are, so I guess we can't complain about that. So this is actually an update of episode 62, where we talked about planning a year of marketing at a time.
Good grief, that was a long time ago.
That was a really long time ago. That was like 3 years ago. Anyway, a long, long time ago. And it's time to update it because some things have changed, some technology has changed, we've learned some new things, and we've learned more about our clients, we've learned more about what works for them, and so on. So we're going to update this with some new and better information, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And it was a very popular episode as well, so time
Hopefully.
clear up some things that were a little bit embarrassing about the way that it got outdated. So,
Really.
right? Okay, so this episode is being brought to you by our shiny new, beautiful calendar, right?
Oh, I thought you were going to say jet.
Well, I wish it was, but this is the new thing. This is a wall calendar that you can get from us just by writing to us and telling us that you are a sales or marketing professional in the aviation industry, and there's a link on our website where you can request this. So we'll send it to you in the mail, US only preferably, and also you do need to be a sales or marketing professional of some sort. So
Preferably in aviation.
yeah, because this is really for you. It's got all of the aviation shows on it. It's got important dates on it. It's really actually only helpful for someone who is in that category, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now we're going to tell you how to use it, right? It doesn't do itself.
No,
Very sad.
that's too bad.
Exactly.
And how were you supposed to automate that?
Well, we're going to talk about some things that you can automate in the calendar, but you can't automate your planning process. That is why God made managers, right?
Really?
And founders and CEOs and all those other things. And, we are still needed as...
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. AI can't do everything for us.
Not yet.
Exactly. Okay, so the three things we're going to be talking about today are big rocks first. This is kind of a Franklin Covey concept where you plan out your largest and most time-consuming events first, and then everything else kind of flows around it. Second thing is work in timelines, or think in timelines. And the third thing is eliminate, automate, delegate if you're using the Tim Ferriss.
It says batch.
Yeah, batch is one thing that I added. I'm differing with Tim Ferriss. He has this book, The 4-Hour Workweek, which is, the title's a complete joke, but it is a very good book. I don't know anybody who is successful in any profession who does a 4-hour workweek. Do you?
No.
No. But the ideas in the book are actually pretty good, and they talk about how to spend your time where you get the most leverage. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, so that your next year is going to be 1,000 times more productive than your last year without having 1,000 clones of yourself, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. All right. So first thing, this is a concept that I first learned at Franklin Covey when I was working there. They used this image in just about every lecture. In fact, people would walk around with 2 mason jars with bags of rocks and sand. I kid you not. This is one of the most powerful demonstrations of what happens to people when they don't plan their time and their budgets and everything else, right?
Yep.
So if you don't plan your budget, you're going to end up frittering your money, $2 here, $2 there, and then wondering where the heck your paycheck went, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing happens with your time. If you don't plan your time, you get up in the morning, you check Facebook, you answer the phone, you do a couple of things, and all of a sudden the day's gone. You have no idea what you did, right?
That's because you didn't prioritize.
Right. So we're going to do this with an entire year where we plan we put the big rocks in the mason jar first, and then you put the smaller rocks in, and they'll fit into those spaces. And then you pour the sand in on top, shake it around a little bit, and it will fit into those spaces. So those things like checking your email and answering the phone are not going to consume your entire year this year like they may have last year, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. So
some people may say that this is a trick of illusion.
Mm-hmm.
All I have to do is say try it.
Right. Basically, for those of you who are not familiar with this trick, you take 2 equal-sized mason jars and 2 equal volumes of rocks, pebbles, and sand. And the one on the left-hand side, they put the sand in first and packed it down real good. Then put the small rocks in and then built up to the largest rocks on top. And there's no way they're going to get those big rocks in after getting all that sand packed in, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one on the right, they put the big rocks in first, and then the little pebbles, shake it around, get it all settled. Pour in the sand, shake it around, get it all settled. You can pack a lot more in if you put the big things in first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who has packed the luggage compartment of a caravan with a ton of stuff will understand this as well.
This is how you get 10 pounds into a 5-pound bag.
Mm-hmm. Check your weight and balance, right? Okay. All right, so let's talk about the big rocks first. Obviously, the shows in the aviation industry are the most time-consuming things that we typically do in sales and marketing, right? They often take several days. They take a lot of money. It takes a lot of preparation and planning.
A lot of preparatory work and a lot of follow-up.
Exactly. So you want to put those on the calendar first, because you don't want to be up against the wall when it's time to leave for a show, having not made any phone calls, not set any appointments, not done the preparatory work with getting the promotional materials and getting your booth in order and all those things that you need to do. So you want to get those things on the calendar first. And they're actually pre-printed for you on this calendar, but there may be some specialty shows that you go to that may not be in here. So if there's any particular shows that you do want to go to, make sure that those are in there and outlined in red before you do anything else, right?
Exactly.
Okay. There's also a worksheet that you can download to do this all on one page and then transfer it to your bigger calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So
We update this every year, so if we find something we missed, then this is the culmination of, 8 or 9 years?
yeah, we've been doing a calendar for 8 or 9 years, and every time we add more to it. So, Okay. All right. You also want to plan some campaigns and promotions. So we do a referral campaign every February, which is a great time to do a referral campaign, by the way, because it's still chilly enough that you can send chocolate in the mail without worrying about it for the most part, unless you're sending it to Florida. Thank you for Jerry for letting us know that you got chocolate soup last year. But anyway, a referral campaign is a really good thing to plan once a year. Valentine's Day is a great time to do it. It's something that does require a little bit of preparation and planning. You may want to get some things professionally printed, so you want to be thinking about this in January, right?
And you want to plan for it financially at the first of the year.
Yeah, so I'll put it on the calendar, and then John, who is our CFO, will know Paula's going to be spending hundreds of dollars on chocolate. Not for me, unfortunately, but that happens just about every year, right?
Mm-hmm. It does, actually.
And you're going, why are we spending so much money on chocolate? But if we planned it before, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. So our calendar, of course, has, the Heli Expo in January. Valentine's Day also happens in January. We need to figure out how to get that to work and maybe delegate some tasks so that those things get sent out while we're at the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We've got NBAA in October. This is in Orlando this year, so it's a bit of a hike for us in Salt Lake City to Orlando.
But we take advantage of that.
Yeah.
We tested it out last year, right?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
When we were also in Orlando, we drove from Salt Lake to Orlando.
But we managed to drive in such a manner to visit almost all of the clients on the eastern half of the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Which was really cool because a lot of these folks we had never met in person before. But it was also very time-consuming and expensive, so we needed to be cognizant of that and have some backup in the office so that our people were getting taken care of while we were out shaking hands and eating food.
Although it wasn't that expensive if you consider 2 airline tickets and a rental car on the other end.
That's true.
So we came out pretty close to even.
Right, exactly. And if you plan these things far enough in advance, you can take advantage of a lot of discounts and things and not have to pay expediting fees and stuff like that. So your whole year ends up being a lot less expensive than it would otherwise. The other thing that you want to plan in that we hadn't been doing a very good job of until this year was vacations. In a startup, you never take a vacation, right? But our company is getting mature enough to the point where we can actually take a couple days here and there, and we've got folks to cover for us, and we can get away without being a major disruption, and that's important, right?
Actually, we took 8 or 9 days recently.
Yeah, that's true.
Or 10.
Yeah, we're just getting back into the office after spending some time. One of our kids graduated from boot camp. So we went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
And visited with a potential client along the way, but vacation did good when you get back and trying to find where everything is.
Right, figuring out how to work all your equipment and things. So, but seriously, vacations are very important for you and for your folks. If you want to retain good people, you do need a break, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so plan those in.
As do they.
Right. And we're thinking, the last time we did spoke about this topic, we were talking about monthly campaigns, having a different campaign every month. But after doing that for a few years with a few clients and with ourselves, we're finding that quarterly campaigns often work better because you can do more preparation, more follow-up, do a more complete, thorough job of it. We've got a long sales cycle anyway. And then we're not driving ourselves crazy and then assuming the campaign works and we end up with a bunch of new clients. We're not completely overwhelmed because we have to do another campaign the next month, right? So this has really helped us think in terms of quarters rather than months.
Of course, on the other hand, if you're a brand new startup, you may want to continue with the monthlies for a while. Yeah,
so, it's just a matter of your cadence of marching, right? If you're doing the double step, then do the double step. If, do whatever you have to do for your business. But, if you're able to slow that down, slow your roll, as they say, and do higher quality campaigns, then, think about doing it that way.
Of course.
And if your campaigns are not getting done at all, you definitely want to slow your roll and think about how to make that happen because you're probably not allowing enough time.
Exactly.
Okay. And you're just making your people crazy. All right. Okay. So this is a map that you've seen a million times from us in different podcast episodes and things like that. This is a marketing system. So this is the infrastructure that we have in place. We've got a website with search engine optimization. We've got social media. We've got podcasts. We've got trade shows. All of those things are kind of fixed assets that we do every year, and we've got a process around each of them. All of that is pretty much the way it's supposed to be. Campaigns are things that start and end, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the reason for that is because if you don't put any urgency into the way that you do business, especially in aviation, people will never get around to buying from you.
Right.
So, they'll keep doing whatever they're doing until something changes that makes them make a move. So they don't really feel a compelling reason to switch from one system to another or one plane to another or anything else until something breaks or they're not in compliance legally or you give them some kind of a deadline.
Right.
So
has to be valid.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to think in terms of timelines. So we're going to use all these assets, but we're going to use them in a particular way. So, we've got our email list, we've got our podcast, we've got our social media, we've got our website. If we think in terms of a timeline, we can send a direct mail package on January 6th as an example. And then we can write a blog post about that same topic on January 8th, which happens to be a Sunday. And then a social media campaign that launches on Monday. So people have, by that time, gotten something in the mail from us. They have possibly seen our blog post and gotten an email because they're subscribing to our blog, and if you're not, you should be, because it's really good information. So the blog post or the podcast episode comes out, and then they start seeing social ads for the same thing. And then we start making phone calls, because that is my least favorite thing to do to a cold audience. So now I've got them warmed up with 3 different things. They've got the package, they've read the blog post, or they've watched the episode. They've seen the social media campaigns. They're not totally cold when I call them.
Yeah, in fact, many of them say, Oh yeah, I recognize you from your podcast.
Exactly. And I know exactly what you want to talk about because I've, just read that. And I just got what you sent in the mail and, here it is. So let's talk about that. And that is a much easier conversation to have than, who are you again? Who are you with? Click, which is what everybody does these days because telemarketing is so off.
Or robocalls are really bad.
Right, exactly. So you really want to warm people up. If you do a phone call, you want to add that at the end of the list. But you want to put these in an order that makes sense so that you're doing this in a way that capitalizes on each other and really leverages the time.
Yep.
Right? So that's kind of timelines and time stacking, or marketing stacking, if we want to call it that. Okay. So batching, automating, and outsourcing. In our marketing lab, we conquer one topic each month. And so for January is goal setting. We do all of our goal setting for the year, ideally in January. So that might be around your keywords that you want to be known for, around your sales goals, your marketing goals, goals for traffic to your website.
And to expand a little bit, we have a pre-set agenda monthly. But that's only in the event that you don't have a priority you want to talk about. Exactly.
Of course, the neat thing about planning, and this is like a military thing, this was Eisenhower that said this, plans are useless, but the act of planning is priceless. It was something along those lines. I'm not sure if I got that exactly right.
That's close.
But the fact that you have done the planning means that you have the liberty to make another decision if you decide not to execute your plan.
He said another well-known one, failure to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah, exactly. So all of that is very true. So in January, we do all of our goal setting, unless something precludes that and something comes up that gloms onto our attention more quickly and we have to take advantage of it immediately. February, prospecting. So we do a lot of prospecting in February, fill our funnels, and we can coast on that for a while we do other things. Like in March, we work on credibility markers. With each of our clients, we go through things that they can do to increase their credibility in their particular niche of aviation.
Exactly.
Right? So that really helps us focus on one thing at a time. When you try to do everything at the same time, you're not going to be effective.
Right.
So we plan, here are the 12 things we're going to accomplish this year, and we divide that out so that it's in nice little chunks. Okay, so, we talked about the big rocks first. We talked about thinking in timelines, batching, automating, and outsourcing. So, automating. Automate all the things, right?
Well, at least as many as you can.
Right. Okay, there is such a thing as bad automation. We've all experienced it. If you've ever answered the phone to hear a robot talking to you, that's really, really bad. Or if you find yourself in an email or a chat loop with a bad chatbot that's trying to do customer service and not doing a very good job of it.
Yeah. The AI on the phone is getting pretty good. And you listen to them and you say, yeah, but what I really want to know, and they continue and don't, it's like you weren't even there, then
yeah,
you're talking to a robot.
You're clearly not
listening. Just hang up with that one.
Right, exactly. Okay, but what we mean in a lot of cases by automate, and this is something that John and I did when we were working for a bank a million years ago. There was a process that had to happen for tax reporting every year at this bank. And you would not think that this is an emergency because it happens every dang year, right? But it was an emergency every dang year, right?
So we fixed it.
So what we did is we put together a project plan for that kind of reporting. We said, you run this batch, you do this, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And we put it into a nice big poster that they hang on the wall.
And called it year-end processing.
Year-end processing. Not an emergency. Same thing with trade shows. Mm-hmm. If you go to the same trade show every year, it should not be an emergency.
No, because you should have 6 months before, you've already got things planned out. Starting a list of who you're going to talk to, who you want to talk to, who the competitor, all those things. And you know what it's going to cost, and you've already budgeted for it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And we do this in Basecamp. We can do a repeating list. So, we do every time we go to a trade show, we just pop out that list, and it says, do you have a booth? Do you need a booth? Yes. Are you going to just do appointments? All of those things. So if you have a repeating list that you can just run out there and then check things off as you need to, you've already got the contact information for your vendors. You've already got the lessons learned and the things that you decided you were never going to do that way again. You were never going to wait this late before you start doing your printing, those kinds of things.
And when you go to buy, rent, lease a booth, that you don't have to find out at the last minute, you mean I have to rent a trash can too? You already have a list of all these things that you need, and you just check them off and submit the request. And
every time you do this, you get better.
You absolutely do.
Right, because you learn new things. So create a trade show plan and save it. So next time you go to a trade show, make sure you save that plan so that you can just pull it out again and start checking stuff off. Whether you do that electronically or in a binder or a notebook, doesn't matter. Just
as long as it gets done.
Yeah. You can do the same thing with a referral campaign. So, if you do the same referral campaign every year, we do Valentine's Day, it doesn't have to be that unique to be effective.
Right.
So, our Valentine's Day campaign includes a direct mail of some kind. It might be different every year. It includes social media of some kind. It includes some sales letters and, some other materials. So we know we have to do the printing, we have to get the supplies, we have to get the postage and all that stuff figured out. And we just check off that list every year. Okay, so some of the things that you can use for this are project management software like Basecamp. Or Asana, or whatever it is that you use. SharePoint is the other one.
SharePoint.
Yeah. So there's project management software that can help you with this, or you can do it old school in a notebook. Doesn't matter, just as long as you're doing it. Other things that you can use are a CRM to set up marketing automation tasks. So if you have that referral campaign and there are a certain set of emails that go with that, you can just pull that out every year.
Modify the email.
Yeah, change the pictures, change some of the text, and you're already halfway done.
Right.
Okay, you've got all the timing figured out. You've got it figured out what works. You've done ideally
the hard part.
Yeah, and you've ideally measured the results. You know what the open rates were for each of those emails, so you know which ones are going to need work next time and which ones work really well already, perform really well already. So those CRMs, Salesforce, SharpSpring, Infusionsoft, whatever you've got, really are helpful for some of these things. Another thing is IFTTT. If this, then that, is an automation platform that has a bunch of really cool little applets in there that fire for one reason or another. So, if someone likes your page on Facebook, as an example, or does a certain action, then you can take it from one system and put it into another. There's lots of ways that you can use these things to automate those little tasks that drive you crazy and take up a lot of your time, because they're those little gravel pieces that fill up the jar really quick if you're not careful.
Yep.
Okay. Delegate and outsource more. So
And outsource doesn't necessarily mean overseas either.
No, that can be to an intern from your local college. It can be to your kids. It can be to your business partners and other folks, your team members. Mm-hmm. So a lot of us are really afraid to delegate and outsource.
Comes with the territory.
Yeah. Because we're picky, right? That's why we started our own company, because we want to do things our own way, right?
Yes.
So what you have to do is set up some key performance indicators. How will I know if this was done successfully? So, when I work with one of our web developers, I say, what I'm looking for is something that loads in less than 2 seconds and has these things and is able to do this and doesn't trip the spam filters and, all of the things that I know I need to make sure that happens. And, it drives them crazy, but it sure is nice to know ahead of time rather than going back over and over and over again to have to correct things that are not right. And another thing is to keep a list of providers you like and use them over and over and over again.
Yes.
And we try to be that for our clients.
Yes, we do.
So they come back to us over and over and over again for the tasks that they do. We've done this before. It's not our first rodeo. It was successful last time, but we also measured the results, and so we know how we could make it more successful when we do it again. Okay. So, couple of things. The design brief template, if you hand that to a vendor, this is something that you can also get on our tip sheet page on our website. So if you search for Aviation Marketing Tip Sheets, you'll get to our tip sheet page with all of our tip sheets, this being one of them. The design brief, you put your logo in, your fonts, your colors, all of those things, and then it's easier to delegate. So, when you delegate and say, make me a brochure or make me a web page or make me a this or that, it's going to come back looking
like you want it.
A whole lot more likely to be what you want without you having to specify all those details.
So once you have it set up, you take this and you go to Kinko's or Alpha Graphics or wherever you want to go and say, this is what I want it to look like. Here's the data.
Exactly. Or, the people that do your trade show booth, the people that do outdoor graphics if you're doing an event.
Or signs for a trade show booth.
Yeah, the people that are doing your t-shirts, anything that you get done, you can hand them this design brief and things will come out looking better than they would otherwise.
Exactly.
Okay. So, also on that tip sheet page, you can download our Aviation Marketing Calendar template, which has a neat spreadsheet that you can use to capture all of these ideas and then hang it on your wall next to your printed calendar. So you can see in January we were going to do blah, 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 blah. Transfer it to the calendar so you know which days you're going to do that on. The calendar is such a liberating thing. Seriously. If you don't plan it, it will. If you don't run your calendar will run you. Right?
That's not good.
It is not good. So if you put some time and just a couple of hours into planning 2020, you're going to feel so much more in control and you're going to have so much better results.
In fact, we just got off the phone with the client a couple hours ago that we did exactly that with her.
Yep, we're doing this with our clients in office hours this month, and it is such a relief for them to have this all planned out and not feel like they have to do everything right now.
Exactly.
Because, well, that's covered. It's going to be done in January or it's going to be done in March. And I don't have to think about that yet because it fits into a neat spot.
Yep.
Okay. So, go sell more stuff.
Yeah, America needs the business, and Mr. Ziegler had a good line there.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
And we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.